What do you think you're doing? This is HOA property.
I've lived in Willow Creek Estates for almost 15 years now, one of those cookie-cutter suburban neighborhoods with neatly trimmed lawns, identical mailboxes, and a homeowners association that takes itself way too seriously. When my wife, Amy, and I bought our house back in 2010, it sat on a generous corner lot. About an acre and a half, bigger than most of the other properties. I loved that extra stretch of land behind the house, a patch of wild grass, a few old oaks, and a tiny creek that curved just along the back fence. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. For years, nobody cared much about that land. The HOA kept to itself, I paid my dues, and everyone minded their business. We had summer barbecues, block parties, and the occasional neighborly spat over fence height or trash cans. Then, in 2022, things changed. That's when Janet Caldwell became HOA president. Janet was what you'd call a power mom turned suburban dictator. Platinum hair, yoga gear, clipboard glued to her hand. She had this knack for making every casual conversation feel like an interrogation. And when she took over the HOA, she came in swinging, new beautification initiatives, new community engagement projects, and a flood of emails about compliance and fees. At first, I didn't mind. She seemed organized, if a little overbearing. But I had no idea just how far she'd go, or how deep into my own backyard she'd step. It started innocently enough. One morning, I woke up to the sound of heavy machinery, the kind that rattles your windows and sets off car alarms. When I looked out back, I saw a yellow excavator parked behind my fence. At first, I thought it was a city crew fixing the drainage by the creek. But then I noticed the men weren't wearing city uniforms. They were in casual shirts, no safety signs, no official vehicles. So I walked out there. A construction foreman, hard hat and clipboard in hand, waved at me like I was trespassing on his land. "Hey, what's going on here?" I asked, trying to sound calm. He looked confused. "We're clearing this lot. HOA's putting in the new Willow Creek Family Park." I blinked. "Family Park? You mean this area?" I pointed to the trees behind my fence. "Yeah," he said, flipping through his papers. "HOA president said this land's common property." She showed us the map. That's when the first red flag hit me. Common property? No. I bought this lot with that land included. I even had the plat survey framed in my office. I told him, "I think you might be mistaken. That part of the lot, it's mine." He shrugged. "Ma'am said HOA approved it. You can talk to her if there's an issue." I couldn't believe it. I called Janet right then and there. She picked up on the second ring, voice crisp and impatient. "Janet, it's Tom Bradley. Why is there construction equipment behind my house?" "Oh, Tom," she said, too cheerfully. "You must have missed the newsletter. We're building a small community park. It's going to add so much value to the neighborhood." "Janet," I said slowly, "that land belongs to me." She gave a light laugh. No, Tom. The common map clearly shows that area is HOA-maintained green space. I have the deed and survey." "Tom," she cut me off, voice icing over. "The board has reviewed it. The land is designated for community use. Let's not make this difficult, okay? Everyone's very excited about the park." I stood there stunned as the sound of chainsaws started up behind me. That's when I knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Something was wrong, and I needed to prove it. That night, I went digging through my old closing documents. Took me hours, but finally, I found what I was looking for, my plat map and property deed. Clear as day, the boundary line extended 40 feet past my back fence, right to the edge of the creek. The very land they were clearing. I scanned everything, labeled it, and emailed copies to Janet and the HOA board. The next day, I got a reply, not from her, but from the HOA attorney. Dear Mr. Bradley, the HOA stands by its current property boundary records. Any dispute should be addressed through the appropriate county channels. Construction will continue as planned. That was it. No apology, no pause. They were doubling down. Amy was furious. They're literally stealing our land, Tom. You can't let them do this. I know, I said, staring out the window as the machines tore into the ground. I just need to make sure when I act. I act once, and I act right. So I went quiet. For the next 3 weeks, I let them build. Every day, I watched as they poured concrete, installed benches, and set up playground equipment. They even built a gazebo right where my old oak tree had stood. Janet stopped by occasionally, strutting around with a coffee cup, giving directions like she was queen of Willow Creek. She'd smile and wave at me from across the yard, as if I should be grateful she was improving my view. Neighbors started praising her for the project. It's so nice having a park nearby, one of them told me. Yeah, I muttered, really close. I wasn't idle, though. I hired a surveyor, a professional one, to come mark the exact property lines. When the results came in, he looked baffled. Sir, he said, pointing at the stakes, about a third of this new park is on your property. Can you document that? I asked. He nodded. I already did. You've got legal claim, no question. Perfect. Next, I went to the county assessor's office. Turns out, the HOA had submitted outdated maps when they filed their project, maps that didn't match the final land divisions after my property was purchased. Essentially, they built part of their park on my lot by mistake. I kept every document, every time-stamped photo, every email. I wasn't just preparing to fight back. I was building a case. By late spring, the park was done. It looked beautiful, I'll admit, fresh mulch, bright blue slides, picnic tables, even a sign that said, Willow Creek Family Park, established 2023. I couldn't help but smirk. Established on my land, apparently. Janet announced a grand opening event, free lemonade, hot dogs, ribbon-cutting ceremony, all that jazz. The whole neighborhood was buzzing. That's when I decided, I'd let her finish her show. And then, I'd take it all back. The morning of the event, I got dressed in my best jeans and a button-up. I tucked the manila folder under my arm, inside were the deed, survey, and the county assessor's confirmation. Amy looked at me, half nervous, half smiling. You're really going to do it? Oh, I'm going to do it, I said. But politely. When I got there, the place was packed. Kids running around, neighbors laughing, camera flashes popping. Janet stood front and center, beaming for photos. Thank you all for coming, she said into the microphone. This park represents our community spirit, teamwork, and... That's when I stepped forward. Excuse me, I said loudly enough for the nearby crowd to turn. Before you cut that ribbon, I think there's something everyone should know. Janet froze. Tom, this isn't the time. Oh, I think it is, I interrupted, holding up my folder. Because the land you built this park on, this beautiful park, doesn't belong to the HOA. It belongs to me. The crowd murmured. Someone laughed nervously. Janet turned red. That's ridiculous. Is it? I opened the folder and handed copies to the 2 board members beside her. Here's my deed. My plat survey. And here, I said, waving another paper, is the county assessor's confirmation that the parcel number matches my property, not the HOA's. The board members started flipping through the papers. One of them, Mr. Daniels, a quiet accountant, looked up at her and whispered, "He's right. These match the county files." Janet's smile cracked. No, that's a clerical error. I stepped closer, keeping my voice calm. I gave you a chance to check this months ago, Janet. You ignored me. You sent construction crews onto my land, cut down my trees, poured concrete, and built this park, all without permission. She sputtered, "Well, you can't just." "Oh, but I can," I said softly, pulling out one last document, the court injunction. As of yesterday afternoon, I filed a property claim with the county court. Effective immediately, this land is under dispute. That means this park is closed until further notice. Gasps spread through the crowd. "Closed?" one of the parents asked. I nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Until the court sorts this out, nobody's allowed to use this area. And since it's technically my property, I can enforce that right now." Janet's jaw dropped. "You wouldn't." "I already did," I said, smiling faintly. "The sheriff's deputy should be here any minute to post the notice." Almost on cue, a patrol car rolled up near the curb. The deputy stepped out with a clipboard and approached the group. "Afternoon, folks," he said, glancing at me. "You Mr. Bradley?" "Yes, sir." He nodded. "Got the paperwork right here. Court order says this parcel is temporarily restricted. Nobody's allowed to enter or use it." The silence was deafening. I turned back to the crowd. "I didn't want this," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I love this community. But I tried to warn the HOA months ago. They built this park on private property without permission. I gave them every chance to fix it, and they ignored me. So here we are." Then, with everyone watching, the deputy walked to the entrance sign and taped the bright yellow notice right under Willow Creek Family Park. The bold letters read, "Property under legal dispute, entry prohibited." You could have heard a pin drop. Parents started gathering their kids. The laughter and chatter vanished like smoke. Janet stood there, clutching her clipboard, her face a shade of crimson I'd never seen before. "I'll fix this," she hissed. "I'm sure you'll try," I said calmly. "But next time, maybe check the boundaries before breaking ground." Amy joined me by the gate as we watched the crowd slowly disperse. A few neighbors came up quietly, shaking my hand, whispering things like, "Good for you," and, "About time someone stood up to her." For weeks, the park sat empty, swings creaking in the wind, grass starting to yellow. The HOA scrambled to negotiate, offering apologies, then compensation, then pleas to donate the land, for the good of the community. I politely declined every time. Eventually, after several tense meetings and a mountain of paperwork, the HOA agreed to pay a settlement for unauthorized land use, enough to cover legal fees, property restoration, and then some. The best part? They had to take down the sign. It's been almost a year since the whole fiasco. The HOA now has a brand new board. Janet resigned shortly after. The park still exists, technically, but it's on their side of the creek now, fully within HOA boundaries. My half-acre remains private, fenced, quiet, peaceful. Sometimes, on summer evenings, I sit out back with Amy, sipping coffee while watching the sunset glint off that empty gazebo they had to move. And every now and then, someone asks me if I ever felt guilty for shutting down the park. I tell them the truth. No. I just followed the rules, the same ones the HOA swore to uphold. Always know your rights, and your boundaries. Bullies often hide behind titles and paperwork, but truth backed by patience and proof will always outlast arrogance. When people try to take what's yours, don't shout. Don't fight dirty. Just wait, document, and let justice speak in the language they understand, the law.